Hi everyone, it's Ardith, and today I'm back on the Ellen Hutson blog and YouTube channel with my next Innovations with Ardith video. I made a clean and simple trifold birthday card with a big surprise inside. Stick around to see what happens when I open this card fully. To start, I created a white A2 size card base from Nina Solar White 110 pound cardstock. I also cut another panel that was 4 3/4 inches wide, and I scored it at 1/2 inch to create this overlapping border. When I glue it together, it'll open up like this. To decorate the front and first interior panel, I used the rectangle die from the gift box die set, and I cut 2 black rectangles. I used the grid on my work surface to help me line up the first one on the right side in the bottom third of the card front. Then I lined up the interior panel so that I could put the black rectangle at about the same height, but on the left side. Next, I stamped and die cut the bunny from the new backyard party set, as well as another die cut that I left blank. I wanted a mirror image bunny because these guys are going to point the way into the card. I've done mirror image stamping before, but I've never found it as easy as it was with this waffle flower water media mat. I simply stamped the bunny directly onto the mat, using a normal amount of pressure. There's no need to press hard. And then I placed the die cut over top of the stamping and I rubbed it with my finger, being careful not to shift the die cut. When I picked it up, I had a backward-facing bunny ready to color. And cleanup on this mat is easy too. A quick wipe with a baby wipe and the ink is gone. Next, I colored the bunnies with Copic markers. I'll keep it quick since this really isn't the focus of the video, but I wanted 1 brown bunny and 1 gray one. I did very simple coloring with some pink in their ears and then only 2 shades for their fur, with basic shading and blending. Then I simply glued each bunny to the appropriate edge of a panel. I love the way they're pointing to the next layer of the card. It's like they're little bunny guides. And look at all that space on the inside. I started with the card base and created a mask by cutting some 2-inch post-it tape into curves to create a kind of landscape. I positioned it on the card and blended some Catherine Pooler It's a Boy ink over to create the sky. I used one of the large life-changing blender brushes because it's such a large space. I went in with a lot of ink and quite a heavy hand in a circular motion to create some variation in the sky to suggest some clouds. When I had complete coverage of the card, I grabbed the panel, lined it up with the card, and moved the mask over and blended the sky there as well. I probably could have glued the panel to the card at this point, but I have a tendency to do things too soon, and then I wish I hadn't, so I kept them as 2 separate pieces until I was sure that it was time to glue them together. When I had the sky done, I used the other half of the tape mask and Lime Ricky ink to blend in the ground. Again, I left quite a bit of variation on the ground, and although it smoothed out quite a bit as it dried, you'll see that there was still some texture visible. Next, I cut the mechanism from the Confetti Flinger die set, and I blended It's a Boy ink onto one side of it. I started by folding along all the crease lines on the die cut, using a bone folder to make sure that the folds were crisp. Then I glued all the side flaps down with regular adhesive before turning it over. On the blue side, I added strong adhesive tape to the top and bottom flaps, as well as to the square part that's embossed with an X as part of the die cutting process. The strong adhesive will be holding the mechanism into the card, as well as holding the actual confetti holder. Next, I took 2 small rubber elastics and fed one through the other to make a figure 8 kind of thing. The elastics will act as the spring for the flinger. To attach them to the mechanism, I cut tiny slits from the edge to each hole before feeding the elastic into each side so the knot is on the inside. And now you get to see how gracefully I attached it to the inside of the card. I'm not sure why I had so much trouble because it's really quite easy, but it is very important to position it so that it won't be sticking out above the card when it's armed, in the upright position. So I played with that a bit before removing the release paper from the tab ends and then fiddling around a bit more until I got it lined up straight. Then I pushed down on the adhesive to make sure it was really stuck well. And you can see how it'll work. Then I used the same strong adhesive to attach the panel to the card base, making it a trifold card. There will be a visible seam on the outside of the card when I'm finished, but I'm pretty sure no one will be looking there. Here's a look at how it all works. This bunny says to open up, then the next bunny says to open up again, and pop, there's the flinger in the middle of a scene that's ready to be decorated. Next, I created some confetti to go into the flinger. I used some 80-pound Neenah white cardstock and this confetti die from the Yay die set. I gave these little tonic blending daubers a try for the first time. They are a little like the Ranger blending tools in that they have round sponges, but the handles are much smaller and fit right into your hand. I had a bit of trouble getting started with the yellow ink, but once the sponge was saturated, it went on much more smoothly. Remember too that these inks tend to go on a bit blotchy, but then they smooth out as they dry. When I moved on to the pink, I had a much easier time because this ink pad had recently been re-inked. It's really important with these inks to have the re-inkers if you want to use them for ink blending, direct-to-paper techniques, or water techniques. In fact, I re-inked these 3 colors, as well as It's a Boy and Lime Ricky, right after I made this card, so that they'll be ready to go next time I need them. And here's my birthday party scene. I did some simple stamping of one of the sentiments from the backyard party set, and you can sing along if you like. I colored and cut out the critters, the cake, some presents and balloons, and then I used blue and green markers to color the white edges so that they would blend in better. I also stamped some little grass lines in grass skirt ink to add some more texture and interest. Next, I finished the flinger with this die and some aqua vellum. This die cuts a square that has score lines on it. You fold each corner to the center to create a tiny envelope that will hold the confetti. I removed the release paper from the adhesive on the mechanism and attached the vellum envelope, but I didn't glue the envelope shut. It needs to be able to open to release the confetti. And speaking of confetti, here's mine that I made earlier. I opened the little vellum envelope and stuck in as much as I thought I could fit. And now comes the fun. To arm the mechanism, I simply pushed it to the upright position and closed the card. I'll show you the confetti a few times, because man does that confetti ever fly quickly. I've tried to slow it down so you can see it, and I've even turned the camera since it seemed to be flying in that one direction. Now this card may seem really elaborate, but remember how simple the outside is, and even the inside is just ink blending and stamping with the addition of the confetti flinger. Once you've watched how it works a couple of times, it's really easy to install and arm to give the recipient a fun birthday surprise. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up below and subscribe for even more inspiration. Product links are below and also on the blog. Thanks so much for watching. See you next month.